Hey, how are we doing, guys? Gray here, and today we've got our team builder for week 6 of the CGT. We're going up against Kurt and his Walt DisneyLandorus in what could be a very crucial game for our season. Spoilers for if you've missed the previous 5 weeks, but we are currently sitting at 2 and 3. As is Kurt, in fact. I think he's 3 and 2. And I'll show you the league table in a second, but first, make sure to check out Kurt. His channel will be down in the description below. Really energetic content creator, really entertaining. Makes arguably the best thumbnails in the league as well, so yeah, definitely worth checking him out, as well as all the other coaches for CGT this season. Like if you're enjoying the content, and sub if you don't want to miss out on the rest of the season. And yeah, with that out of the way, this is the league table currently. Yeah, it's all very close. You got Sven at the top, 5-0 currently, just kind of ripping everyone at the moment, and that is our week 7 game, so that'll be a tough one to win. Then we've got Aquarius just behind, and then there's this massive group from 3rd down to 13th, from Mount A to Lars, of 3 and 2 and 2 and 3. Current situation kind of means that we need to try and win every game effectively. At least I think go 5 and 4. If we can win 3 of our last 4 games, which is a tall order, because no coach is ever going to be easy, but if we can win 3 out of our last 4, I think we're definitely going to make playoffs. Because I think it's going to be one of those seasons where it's going to be potential 4 and 5 that makes playoffs. The fact that it's now 3 and 2 is the playoff kind of cutoff. Maybe 5 and 4 with a bad differential will make it. It's hard to say. Like, a lot of these teams have got to play each other. I know we've got to play Kurt today, and we play Matt as well in our last week. So yeah, there's a couple of rivals that are going to be in this group that we have to try and win those games. I think they're the most important games to win. I think beating Sven would certainly help, but at the same time, he's not a direct rival. We would have to win all 4 games, and he would have to lose for us to be anywhere near him. So he's basically locked for playoffs at this point, I would say, because he would need a drastic turnaround to his season to not make it. But yeah, as you can see, league table is very close. That's the situation, and let's get into our matchup for this week. I felt like it was just important to show that, because you don't know what's going on with the league table unless you look at it. But here's our matchup. Kurt's team is Zero Aura, Galarian Slowking, Mamoswine, Azelf, Suicune, Galarian Moltres, Rotom Mow, Blaziken, Steelix, Colossal, and Drampa. So when I was looking at this matchup, the mons that I don't think are very likely to come are going to be the Colossal and the Rotom Mow. I think those two arguably have the worst matchup here. Steelix is decent. I think even Galarian Moltres has a place on this team. Drampa has a place on this team as well. I think all of those should go above. Like, Colossal just doesn't have a matchup. It doesn't deal with anything realistically on my team, barring Cinderace, which can also just low kick it or high jump kick it. Tornadus, which can, you know, focus blast it, and same with Thunderous. It can body press, sure. Maybe like some kind of Shucker bait set to try and be Excadrill or Tyranitar, but it really doesn't do anything to mons like Reuniclus, to Tentacruel, Galarian Corsair, Exeggutor. There's a lot of things that it just doesn't do a whole lot to. So don't expect Steelix. Rotom, I think, is just worse than Zero Aura in this matchup, and I don't think he wants to bring both Rotom and Zero Aura to this game. I do have like a very good, in fact, I got a few good checks to Rotom Mow, being like Thunderous Furion, especially defensive Buzzwole. Excadrill does a decent job if it's more specially defensive. Tyranitar can check it, Reuniclus can check it, Exeggutor hard walls it, barring certain sets. Things like Galarian Corsair can wall it, Stoutland can even check it. So yeah, I don't think Rotom comes over Zero Aura by any means. Zero Aura is one of the most potent mons against my team, so yeah, I think he wants to probably just bring the one electric type, but if he does bring the Rotom Mow, we are prepared for it, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Famous last words, I'm sure. Yeah, then looking at that, I think like the next level above that is going to be the mons that I think potentially have a matchup. Could definitely see them coming and have had to prepare for them. I think those are going to be Galarian Moltres, Blaziken, Steelix, and Drampa. These mons are all pretty scary. Drampa against my team, my switch-ins are limited, very limited, especially against the spec set. I am rocking Protect on a couple of mons just to be able to potentially scout a Specs or even Scarf Dramper. Scarf Dramper is a set that it's been brought to my attention, so I now fear it, which I never thought I would do, and never in this matchup did I think, yeah, it's Scarf Dramper, but here we are. Scarf Dramper actually scares me. Steelix, I think, is just a decent all-round check to a lot of things on my team. This matchup isn't amazing, and it is, I think, worse as a ground type in this game compared to Mamoswine. But as a bulky rock setter with the ability to kind of bait in and toxic things like the Buzzwole, and I guess also like Taunt as well, and Thundy, it can bait those in. I think it just really needs kind of body press, stone edge coverage in this game. With Toxic, it's able to whittle things down, so yeah, Steelix could be a bit of a problem. We do have our ways of trying to deal with it. We do have a way of kind of abusing Steelix to an extent, so hopefully that pays off. Then we've got Blaziken. Blaziken is a problem for my team. The upside is that it, in the words of Addison, aka Aquarius, it's too slow in this matchup to be able to outspeed and threaten the things that want to threaten it, and it just lacks the amount of damage it needs to with its choice Scarf to be able to break through my defensive core. So it could be one of those that if it comes, it might well mess me up. And you know, we've been there this season with Inteleon and not prepping particularly well for it. I have got things that can deal with it to an extent, but at the same time it's not been like the primary mon that I focused on when it came to my prep, so I'm really hoping I don't see it, because that will be a problem for me. And then we have got Galarian Moltres. Galarian Moltres is just hard-walled by Tyranitar. It can U-turn out, which is nice momentum for him. It does get him Zeraora, it does get in Mamoswine, it does even get Blaziken in as well. Tyranitar is kind of abusable in that sense, but our Tyranitar set is to try and not allow that as much as we can, because spoilers are bringing Tyranitar. Who'd have thought in a game against two Psychic types and a Galarian Moltres we're breaking it. But yeah, Galarian Moltres really just kind of, I think, is going to be a boots pivot if it comes. Dual Stabs are decent against my team if Tyranitar goes down, and potential agility just to outspeed EXEGGUTOR, that's possible. It could also be just Nasty Plot. Could be Taunt as well. Taunt on a bulkier set works out really nicely for him. Just to be able to stop me from getting rocks up and then pivoting out, which means that he can kind of quite freely go into things like Suicune and I guess Steelix as well without having any real worries at all. That leads us then to the mons that I think are definitely coming to this game, which are going to be Zeraora, Galarian Slowking, Mamoswine, Azelf, and Suicune. I think all 5 of these have just got a decent matchup. I would say Galarian Slowking is the least likely of all of those, but at the same time it is still a Galarian Slowking, it can still put in work. I think he definitely needs that fighting check to switch into Buzzwole. Without it, he relies a lot on Azelf, and Azelf is not the bulkiest of mons, and if it gets caught early by a knockoff or a U-turn, then Azelf is no longer going to be a switch in at all to Buzzwole. So I think Galarian Slowking is almost definitely coming to this game. As to what the set will be, it could be anything from 3 moves, which I think it probably does need 3 attacks to be able to do enough to my team. I've also seen Calm Mind and Nasty Plot being thrown around in the front office, but I think 3 attacks slack off is probably his best build. Mamoswine is a massive threat, just gonna smack my team around if Buzzwole ever goes down. Then it's a big issue for me. It's a big issue because though I got things that outspeed it, there's not a lot that wants to take it on, and it can be bulky in this game as well because of my speed tiers. I don't think he's going to particularly be too worried about a fast Buzzwole. I think he's going to be more concerned about bulky Buzzwole, so I don't think he's going to run too much speed, and that is unfortunate. I'd rather it had least defenses as possible, but it is what it is. You can't win it all. But Mamoswine, yeah, Dual Stab kind of messing me up. I can see it being potential Life Orb with rocks. It could be banded. Yeah, it's going to cause me some problems, I'm sure. Azelf has been just like a decent offensive piece to kind of pick away at my team. It doesn't necessarily sweep me. Again, famous last words, I'm sure. It doesn't necessarily sweep me, but it does knock off items, it pivots, it can have Drain Punch for Tyranitar and EXEGGUTOR, and it can just run Psychic as well for Buzzwole. So there's no safe mon necessarily against Azelf. because TAUNT doesn't want its item knocked off. Nothing really on my team wants its item knocked off. So as elf could be a bit problematic. We just kind of have to deal with it as we go. And I think potential lead as elf would be the better situation for me, I think. Because the planned lead is always going to be Tornadus, which again, spoilers, bringing Tornadus. And if we are able to catch the lead as elf, that would be just better for me. I'm not sure whether a knockoff is going to be worth against it. If it's a lead set, then I think it probably would be. I could also just double out on that, but again, I'd have to go into like Reuniclus, and a Scarf trick set would be a bit of a problem for Reuniclus, because Reuniclus without the ability to click any other buttons other than attacking moves, realistically, it could click recover, but that loses me a lot of momentum. Again, I'm bringing Reuniclus. I'm just spoiled like basically my entire team, but yeah, I'm 10 minutes in. I haven't even got to my team. Jeez, I'm going into depth. If you're enjoying me going into more depth about this team matchup, then comment down below saying you do. If you'd rather I was just quicker and glanced over it, then let me know as well. Yeah, where was I? As elf, I explained it enough. Suicune, just physically defensive, is very, very good against my team. Good against Drill, good against Cinderace, good against Buzzwole, good against Tyranitar. It's, yeah, needless to say, it's good against a lot of things. I think the only issue it has realistically is going to be Reuniclus on my team, because unless it is running like Subtoxic, Roar, and Scold, which is a set that it could definitely run, then I don't have any issue with dealing with Suicune whilst Reuniclus is alive, as long as, again, Reuniclus is not tricked. If Reuniclus gets tricked, then it becomes a bit more of a problem, but again, we're going to just have to scout out the As-Elf set, see what we can do around it. Yeah, Suicune, outside that, it doesn't necessarily do too much damage. I don't think he's got the space for Rest Talk. He might have Resto Chesto, but I think he does probably want to run Subtoxic this week. Could potentially see Calm Mind, but again, my Reuniclus set is there to try and deal with all the Suicunes that you could possibly bring. And that then leads us to his last mon, which is going to be Zeraora. And yeah, this mon is an absolute demon against my team. I really need to keep Buzzwole as healthy as I can for Mamoswine, and that does limit what I can do around Zeraora, because realistically the only other switch in I could find on my team was going to be EXEGGUTOR, and if he runs Play Rough or Toxic, then it becomes a little bit more problematic. But we do have some bulk on our team to try and take hits from Zeraora, but it's going to be rough. I mean, Thundurus is also pretty good against it if I was to run like a defensive Thundy, but I don't think it's amazing. Like, Thundy has got a good matchup, but I don't think it's got the best matchup if it's running defensive. So yeah, that's going to be the situation with Zeraora, is that effectively it only needs 3 attacks in knockoff, Plasma Fist, and close combat. The last move is either going to be Volt Switch or Bulk Up, I believe, potentially Toxic. It's going to be one of those 3. If he wants to try and win with a potential like Scarf Mamo late game, then he will probably try and get Zeraora in, baiting my Toxic, my Buzzwole and Toxic it. So I just got to try and avoid letting him do that. And I've built to try and avoid doing that. So yeah, let's get into our build for this game, the reason you're probably here. Yeah, so first up we have got Tyranitar with the leftovers, running a very defensive set, just mixed bulk. This is to take hits from both sides. Let me just move the team over here so I can see, yep, now I can see both teams, and that helps explain my thought process a bit better. So yeah, Tyranitar realistically can switch into quite a lot of things, but it does have to watch out for Focus Blast. There's mons like Drampa and Galarian Slowking that could, and almost definitely will, run Focus Blast to try and hit this. It doesn't switch in particularly well to As-Elf as well if it is clicking Drain Punch on U-turn. Realistically, the things we want to see here is going to be like Galarian Moltres, is going to be Galarian Slowking as well, and we want to bring this in more on a free switch than on a just switching in, unless we can scout out a set of certain mons and know that we're free to switch it in. Crunch, Earthquake, Stealth Rock, and Protect. Rocks are going to be really handy in just whittling this team down. It is part of the game plan. It's kind of just going to be chip damage. It might be a bit stally this week, but that's just how I found the best results in my mocks. Shout out to Sully, Zane, and Addison for mocks this week, and also to Shuckle King for providing his team, even though he was unable to mock me in the end. I mean, he probably will mock me in terms of my gameplay in this game, but other than that, he was not able to mock me this week. But yeah, this moveset kind of covers as much as it can. Protect is to rack up that sand damage. It prevents Suicune if it is sub toxic, anything like that. I can switch this in on a, well, if he switches it in on my Tyranitar, it'll firstly have to take a Crunch or an Earthquake, or I send out rocks on that turn even. I can click Protect. If he clicks Sub, it's fine. I go into Reuniclus and I just go from there. It also means that if he clicks Sub, he's not getting Leftovers recovery. If he chose to not have Leftovers, then I'm going to assume it's Resto Chesto. Potentially, I guess, like Citrus? I don't know. I don't think that's going to be a set that we see. But yeah, if we don't see Leftovers, I'm just going to assume it's Chesto. And play around it accordingly, because part of the plan probably is to try and Toxic that Suicune. If I can get a Toxic off, then my endgame drill becomes a lot better. Crunch hits everything on this team for neutral, barring Galarian Zapdos and Blaziken. So it's just a really free move to click for the most part. I know both those mons are... that one of those mons resists or is immune to Earthquake, being Galarian Moltres, but I don't think he will ever stay in. I can also, if I get it Toxic, which should be doable, I managed to do it in a couple of mocks, then it's not necessarily too much of a problem. I can click Crunch against it and be fine. But again, chip damage is the aim of the game, so being able to get potential Stealth Rock damage on it if I'm able to knock off Moltres, plus Toxic, plus Sand, plus Crunch damage, like I don't feel like I need Stone Edge. And again, that may be a mistake, but I felt like Earthquake just gave me much more in this game, being able to hit Zeraora super effectively and hit Blaziken super effectively, as well as meaning that I'm not just hard-walled by Steelix as well. That's just really nice for me. I think that's going to be the best set for me. And yeah, what this has really got to look out for is any kind of fighting coverage, which I can protect. I can scout for Choice Band Mamoswine as well. I can scout for Toxic on Zeraora. I can, yeah, scout for many things on this, as well as getting that chip damage with Sandstream just throughout the entire game. But also it will set up the sand for our EXEGGUTOR, which this week is running a very bulky set again. It's just kind of mixed defensive, but still adamant, with enough attack investment to be able to smash things, hopefully, once they're in range. Muscle Band, I mean, I'm going back and forth on Muscle Band. I might just swap back to Soft Sand, but Muscle Band means that I'm able to do enough damage with Iron Head to Oko a Azelf after Rocks and Sand, I believe. We do have Earthquake actually hits like basically everything. The only thing that Earthquake doesn't hit is Azelf and Moltres, and I guess Rotom Mow on his team as well. So yeah, realistically, Iron Head hits those two absolutely fine. Could have run like X Scissor. In fact, I did have X Scissor right up towards the end, but I never clicked it. I just never clicked X Scissor. I can probably play around Rotom well enough that I don't ever need to be in that position where I needed X Scissor for an endgame. Swords Dance is just there in case I have that opportunity to set up a Swords Dance. Again, if it is Rest on Suicune, if it's like Rest Sleep Talk 2 attacks, or Rest Sleep Talk Scald Toxic, depending on the situation and whether or not I can have to risk getting burned effectively by Scald if he gets the Sleep Talk roll, we can set up a Swords Dance there. Otherwise, it's very difficult for me to set up Swords Dance, but at the same time, I'm hopefully playing to an endgame that won't need it. And then we got Sandstorm, just in case Tyranitar dies and we are able to set up the Sandstorm. If we can live a hit, set up Sandstorm and get another 4 turns, then absolutely ideal. That would be great, because this is kind of my win con. The only things that outspeed it are going to be Scarf, Azelf, and Zeraora. Outside of that, there is nothing. I think actually, no, I don't get outsped by regular Zeraora. It would have to be Scarf or +1. But yeah, we're also EV'd, I believe, to deliver close combat from Adamant Zeraora, so that'd be from full. So it's unlikely that we're going to be in that position where we're going to be fine to just kind of click Earthquake against a potential Shocker on Zeraora, but I think he does need many resist berries, so knocking off items is going to be huge in this game. But yeah, that's EXEGGUTOR, just kind of our late game win con. We don't have a ton of win cons in this team. A lot of it is going to be, again, playing to this end game. We do have one of them on that can potentially win an endgame, but it's going to be a bit harder to do. Then we have got our Buzzwole with Drain Punch, Earthquake, Toxic, and Roost. Again, third time I got Earthquake. Earthquake is very spammable against this team. Drain Punch just for some recovery and super effective moves against the things it wants to check, being Mamoswine and I guess Steelix as well. Obviously, Drain Punch not doing a lot to Steelix. If it's especially defensive, we do about 30-ish%, I think. Maybe like a little bit more, maybe 40. But still respectable damage, and realistically this is just here for a Mamo switch, and we do have enough special defense to be able to live a Psychic from the Galarian Slowking. I don't think we live one from Azelf, but you know, it is what it is. This is not an Azelf check, so realistically, unless I'm expecting a U-turn or something along those lines, then Buzzwole's never coming in on Azelf. It does double up as a check to Zeraora. It does take a hit from Blaziken. If it's Adamant Life Orb, I believe it does take a Flare Blitz. If it's Overheat, we die. Just how it is, not a lot I can do about it. But I felt like I needed the boots this week. I was going to run Earthquake, was going to run Ockerberry to be able to make sure that I don't just auto lose to Blaziken, but realistically I shouldn't just lose to Blaziken, because either it's going to lower its special attack there and I can go into something else, or we are able to just take like chip damage. Basically, we can just chip away at it with the rest of my team. Plus Flare Blitz, if it's physical, will take a lot of recoil. If it's Life Orb as well, it takes a lot of recoil. It takes rocks, it takes sand, all that sort of stuff, and hopefully that'll be enough for us to deal with Blaziken. That's a terrible game plan, but it's a game plan I'm going for. Let's hope the Blaziken doesn't turn up. Yeah, so this is just going to be defensive. Toxic was really, really nice. I did swap this out for one mock to Taunt, and Taunt fucked me over because I wasn't able to Toxic the Moltres, and Moltres just kept pivoting, and I couldn't gain momentum at all, and I got my ass handed to me in that mock. So yeah, changed it back to Toxic, and it's just so much better. Being able to Toxic Suicune, potentially Toxic Moltres, also Toxics things like Zeraora should it come in for whatever reason. If it stays in, if it's like a bulk upset, then we can Toxic it late game and prevent it from just kind of winning. That's at least the idea behind this. If it's like maybe, I don't know, bulk up weakness policy to try and take advantage of me clicking Earthquake with all of my Earthquake mons, then yeah, I think that's going to be fine for me. Yeah, that's going to be Buzzwole. Next up, we have got a debut for Alolan EXEGGUTOR. This, I've wanted to bring it. There's been a few matchups where I've been like, is this an egg matchup? This is an egg matchup. Even when I was discussing it in front office, Shuckle King said that it was one of the 6 that he would have expected if we were to play a mock. So I'm hoping that Kurt doesn't expect it, because then Drampa will come, and Drampa does cause me some problems. But we are running Energy Ball, Leech Seed, Protect, and Synthesis. Literally cannot touch the Drampa if it's Sap Sipper at all. If we see Berserk, we're absolutely fine. I mean, we're not fine, we're going to be taking a lot of damage, but we are able to at least do something to it. The upside is that if it is Drampa that comes in and it is Sap Sipper, firstly it's getting Attack Raise, which doesn't matter. Attack Raise is nothing for a Drampa unless he is running random physical. So then we got the Protect, and then we can Protect to scout out what he wants to go for, see if he is choice locked. If he locks himself into, or he goes for Focus Blast, we can switch into something that wants to take Focus Blast, and hope that maybe he is just Specs. Once we've scouted that, we have Protect on Tyranitar, we have Protect on this. Hopefully we'll be okay to deal with the Drampa. But yeah, we're holding the Jacoba Berry. Jaboca, not Jacoba. Jaboca. Jaboca Berry with Harvest is able to consistently pressure Zeraora. This is our primary switch into it. Being able to do a lot of damage with Energy Ball. Leech Seed is really nice against all of his team, just for, again, more chip damage. He doesn't have a lot of reliable recovery. In fact, he doesn't have much at all outside of what, Drampa and Slowking. So being able to Leech Seed and then just Protect on things that don't have reliable recovery. The Jaboca, even if he clicks Knockoff, it will take the Jaboca damage and it won't knock off the item, so we are able to harvest it again. Being as defensive as we are, we should be able to take that just fine. And like I say, it kind of just pressures the Zeraora. The only set I guess it doesn't pressure too much is going to be like Sub-Toxic, but what can I do about that, really? Like, I would just keep clicking Energy Ball and breaking his sub, because there's no way he lives or is able to keep his sub against an energy ball, even if he's like max for death. I don't think he's able to. So yeah, Exeggutor, great for doing some chip damage here. Synthesis with the sand is a little bit rough, but I kind of just wanted this thing to be annoying and be able to stay alive forever. And without Dramper being there, it should be able to do something of the sort. So even if it's Synthesis in the sand, it should still heal around the same amount as close combat will do to me. Bear in mind if it's like boots or leftovers or Shucker on the Zero Aura. Yeah, we should be okay. I don't know how long I've been recording, but my throat is dying here, so right, moving on. This one, Tornadus, coming this week. Made a late change to its moveset, which I'm always going to regret because I do that every time and end up being like, oh man, if only I still had that move. But I took Defog off of this and put Superpower on. Main reason, Dramper, Steelix, Mamoswine, also things like Galarian Moltres, being able to actually do some damage to those mons is very helpful, because sure I can knock off, sure I can taunt and prevent them from really doing too much, but I can't do anything in return if I was Defog, because originally it was just knock off, U-turn, Defog, taunt. I did have Toxic on there, but at the same time Galarian Slowking was always coming in on this, and once it's knocked off, I just don't do anything to it. I can taunt it, prevent it from setting up or potentially healing, and try and 1v1 it, but if it just clicks Sludge Bomb and gets the poison, then I can't 1v1 effectively. So I think the main thing is just keeping Taunt. Taunt for Suicune is great, Taunt is great for Galarian Slowking. It also prevents things like Steelix from being able to set up rocks or Toxicking, which is always helpful. And also, Taunt hasn't got the best matchup. It's going to be helpful. It's going to definitely be a great knockoff pivot in this game. But if I have to almost like suicide it just to get something in range of my endgame, then I will absolutely do that. I've not used Taunt well this season, I'm aware of it. It's not done what it should be doing. It's Taunt, it's my round 1 pick. It's 1-4 currently. But, you know, we're going to make this work at some point. It may not get many kills, but at least it hopefully will do a job in this game. And that leads to our last mon, which is going to be Reuniclus, our jelly gel for this team. It literally just binds it all together. Every team that I build is just like, well, I kind of need Reuniclus on this. And this is our status sponge, plus setup sweeper, plus switch into multiple things on this team. Very, very fizz def. Calm Mind, Recover. The two moves I went back and forth on, I've gone with PSYSHOCK and Energy Ball in the end. PSYSHOCK is good for Calm Mind Suicune, it's good for Calm Mind on Galarian Slowking as well. And it also hits a good portion of the team for neutral damage. Things it doesn't hit for neutral damage are going to be what, Galarian Moltres, Steelix, and that's it. Just those two mons, which I would love to have run Focus Blast for. But I feel like I can probably deal with Galarian Moltres. I always have that switch into Tyranitar should I need it. And Steelix is just setup fodder. So if I can set up to +6 and get an Energy Ball off, then it's still going to be doing a lot of damage. Energy Ball just gives me that consistent way of being able to break a sub against the Suicune, because PSYSHOCK doesn't do enough to physically defensive. It also does the most damage to Mamoswine outside of Focus Blast, which again, I just don't want to miss Focus Blast. It's the only reason I'm not running it this week. And that's really all it's needed for. Like, there's not a lot else on this team that isn't hit by PSYSHOCK, so really it's just most consistent coverage move. Thunder was on there, Focus Blast has been on there. I've gone with Energy Ball and I hope I don't regret it. But yeah, that's going to be the team. I've probably put the most time into this team than any other team this season, so if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm just trying to play for fun, because I just get too worked up in terms of, oh, I need to win these games. Granted, would love to make playoffs, would love to have a good showing in CGT, because last season was not a good showing, and so far we started off strong and we've lost it a little bit. So I do want to make sure that I kind of come back a little bit. Don't go out with an absolute whimper and finish 2-7. That would just feel awful. But at the same time, I need to relax a little bit, which, you know, with someone who struggles with anxiety. Not the easiest. But yeah, hopefully we're able to put in a good shift here in our game, which I'm going to be playing in like just a moment. And if we can pull out a win, that really helps us in the playoff picture. We just need to kind of win maybe 1 or 2 more games this season to have a good chance of making playoffs. Hopefully we can do it. But if you did enjoy the team builder, please leave a like, subscribe, comment below whether or not you like the longer team builders or whether you just like a short team builder, quickly glancing over the team. And yeah, make sure to go and sub to Kurt and watch his side of the battle when it goes up tomorrow. I'm sure I'll post this on Thursday and not Friday. But make sure to check out his side. And yeah, until the next one, have a great day, guys. Peace.